Hi, Mal. Thank you so much for being a guest speaker on the Cocoon podcast. How are you and what do you do?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually really enjoying the cold right now. It's perfect jumper weather.
Yeah, same over here. So I'm Mal, and I have a website called Mistakes Are Overrated because when I went through my healing journey, every single night I used to research and just try and make sense of what I was dealing with, how I can help myself. And that took a long, long time because I couldn't find one website. So I made it my mission to be able to create something for people that were once in my footsteps to have a website that had everything together.
Yes, most definitely. And we will obviously link that website in the prompt. And for our listeners, sorry, in the bio, and for our listeners, I actually have the healing journal here that you have written. What inspired you to write a journal specifically helping with healing?
Um, just through personal experience, like I went through, been about 3 years since I started my healing journey, and I really did struggle in the beginning. And I just found a love for journaling where I'd just get blank journals and just write out what I was dealing with, trying to find the root cause and just going through everything to help myself. And I was looking for journals to help me that had like guided prompts or exercises, and I couldn't really find it. So I made it my mission to create one with all of my stuff that helped me to help other people into one journal.
Yes, most definitely. I saw that on your website too. And I think what I really found touching when I read your bio and your in your website is when you mentioned that you experienced this, I guess, shame or guilt around speaking verbally about your assault. Like I remember the line that you said was, I cannot tell my mom. And
Mm,
I think for a lot of us, that is just so common that we experience such blockage around being able to verbally express our feelings, especially around being a survivor of trauma. And I just felt that was like really resonant to me as also a fellow survivor. Do you reckon that correlates with you as well?
oh, yes, 100%. Yeah. It was a
Yeah.
lot easier to express in forms of words than like actually speaking it. But also, it's amazing when you read what you've written. It's like you're hearing it from a different perspective because it's deep down, like almost in a way that it's not consciously you, but it is. It's so strange, but amazing.
Yeah, I can totally understand what you mean. It's a different perspective on your own brain, and you're able to understand yourself and your thoughts in a way that you can't think verbally because you're able to have that reflection.
Precisely, yeah.
Yep. So I totally understand that. And I also just really love the color. It's green. Actually, it actually matches my jumper. That was on
I know.
purpose, by the way. I actually did that on
Oh,
purpose. So
really?
it's yeah, yeah. So to our listeners, if you don't know, the color is like I'd say it's like a foresty green, like a sage green. It's a very earthy color. Did you pick that color
Exactly.
on purpose?
Yes, I did, because a huge aspect as well as journaling in my healing journey has been connecting to nature and just,
Mm.
I don't know, green just resonates like very soothing and just healing to me. So I implemented it into the color of the journal.
Most definitely. And I'm sorry, I'm listening to you. I'm just going through the journal right now because I've highlighted like a special quotes that I wanted to speak with you about.
Mhm.
Um, so how did you actually figure out the exercises to do? So one of my favorite exercises that you wrote in here was identifying triggers. And to our listeners, some of the comments are like some of the questions are whenever I experience a trigger, I will answer these questions to help me identify my triggers and pick up on any patterns. And of course, there's questions in there like, did anything stand out to me? What was I doing before I got triggered? How were you inspired to create these questions for your journal? Apart, like obviously, personal experience being one of them.
Yeah, so everything within this journal is from my personal journals. And obviously, I've got five, so I try to minimize the key aspects that help me so it can help people. So I really believe in yes, we feel things, but there's always going to be a root cause to it. And my aim was to figure out and dive deep, deep within to try and go to that root cause so then I can try and help myself around how I was feeling. So just for my journal, for example, like I'd have a blank page and I'd write my like issue or what I was dealing with in the middle and then just like brainstorm why, how, like everything around it so I can try and make myself feel better. And then through that, I put them into questions for this journal.
Yeah, and I can definitely see the effort that you put into that because especially the boundary section. So in the book there's a beginning to set boundaries, which I think for a lot of us as survivors is so difficult, especially me with like a fawn response. And I can really feel the motivation but also your own personal experience. Like the prompts feel very personal and relatable. They don't feel really cold or rigid at all. Like yeah, like my non-negotiable needs, reflection from experience. And I also love that you also included gratitude and small steps, like baby steps I can begin to take. I feel like that those type of prompts I feel are just so necessary to, I guess, minimize this feeling that healing actively is just so impossible and takes such a long time. And how do you implement that into your daily life?
Yeah, I didn't want anything to be too intimidating or too big of a change in someone's
Mm.
life because trauma already is a massive change. So I try to make it small but steps that do add up and can change. Yeah.
I love that. I feel that's just so knowledgeable and important, particularly for survivors, but also for the support people around them. I also just really love your website. Mistakes Are Overrated. How did you choose that name?
So I was going through a lot of names, like just thinking of like, I don't really want it to be anything to do with the word trauma, same as my journal, because I feel like it's a very personal thing. So if you're on it, you don't want people to like look and see, oh, trauma. So I was thinking, growing up, like the word mistakes has very, very negative connotations. Like it's don't learn from my mistakes, or like learn from my mistakes, sorry, or don't do this, it's wrong. But I believe mistakes are so necessary for not only our growing, but also our learning and healing as long as we learn from them. So I came up with mistakes are overrated because I just think the word mistakes in our like society is just overrated. Like we need them in some form. Yeah.
I completely agree and understand because I feel like with social media and with how everything is so filtered online, I feel like it's just so easy for us to believe that not everyone and everything is perfect. And I feel because people can be so critical now because of social media and I guess the way that we perceive ourselves more globally. I feel like we just put so much pressure on ourselves to feel like we constantly need to be perfect and not make those mistakes. And I mean, do you agree with that statement?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I also believe like you that it's important to make those mistakes and have those maybe unfortunate circumstances or maybe those like bad decisions because you're right, we do learn from our mistakes and it really helps us grow. If we're perfect all the time, I mean, we it doesn't seem like we can reach our full potential, yeah?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's essential, I believe.
Yeah, of course. So, next question. So, you said this journal isn't about fixing yourself, but getting to know yourself. Can you discuss more about why this shift is so important for healing from your perspective?
Yeah, so I really don't like the term fixing yourself because when you fix something, it essentially means that something's not right with it or it's broken and we need to put it like back together. So I created this journal so we can reconnect to our true self because this reframes your identity. So like for example, we aren't broken, but we're just disconnected from our true self because trauma completely changes our life, our perspective, and just everything about us. So, reconnecting to yourself is diving deep, deep down past those walls that we may have put up due to our trauma, consciously or subconsciously. But more importantly, it also makes us reflect, are we proud of who we are? And like, if we aren't, that's perfectly okay because we can change, and change is so important and necessary. Like, the person that I was at the beginning of my healing journey to now, I've changed a lot of aspects. So I think it's very important to understand yourself and reconnect to yourself and make the changes to make yourself proud of who you're becoming.
Most definitely. I completely agree. And moving on with that kind of theme, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you've been journaling for a while. How do you feel that you have grown and gotten reconnected with yourself after your trauma with journaling?
Just understanding me, like who I am, what I like outside of all obligations and external influences. Like, journaling is such a private thing. You do it in a safe space, you do it with yourself. Like, it's really just your thoughts on paper. And then when you read it back, like, some of the things that I hadn't done in years, but I loved to do in my childhood, I read it and I was like, why don't I do that now? Like, yes, I've grown up, but I still love to do that. So it really just makes you understand who you are to your core instead of all of, especially social media, like, oh, I should like this because everyone else my age is liking it. And it just makes you, yeah, connect. So I've grown in almost every aspect, honestly, through journaling.
And how do you feel that it has helped you with, I guess, your more of your self-love and self-acceptance? Because going through trauma, like our security and our worth gets really reduced in most cases. And I always felt with journaling as well, you're right, it does help bring out those joys and positivities that you might not have thought about in a while post trauma. So, how do you feel that you have grown to love and accept yourself and really be proud of yourself more since journaling?
Yeah, so I have grown up being very, very self critical just due to what I've learned and what I've heard growing up. So journaling really did change that inner critic to an inner, like, self compassion. So journaling helped me with that, just removing judgment from how I felt and seeing it from a different perspective to just in my brain, because I felt if I got fixated on something, I could loop it, loop it, loop it, and it's just an internal, like, dialogue. But when you put it out, I found when I read it, I was like, oh, like, it's not actually as bad as my brain's saying. Or if it was pretty bad, then I'd be able to brainstorm ways to help me, like, make it better and help myself grow. So with my self compassion, I just removed all judgment from what I was going to write because it was a safe space. So I was like, okay, I'm going to journal, and whatever comes out, I will read it just like a friend was talking to me. What would I do if she was saying this to me? And it just makes you connect to yourself deeper because you're like, this is me, but sometimes you don't allow yourself to feel that way. Yeah.
I completely understand because with journaling, I do also feel it does help you connect with your identity and authenticity more because no one is reading it apart from you. You can write however you like. You can write in what font you like. You can write the most, I guess, incoherent sentences and words that maybe no one else will understand, but that's important to you because it doesn't matter how you write as long as you feel like what you are writing is very healing. I guess there's no pressure for that grammar or that comprehension when you journal on your own.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't even need to be readable. If you are at least able to express how you feel inside.
And that's why I really loved the prompts in here, where one of them was like, you can just use stickers, you can doodle, you can write quotes, you can write whatever you want as long as you put just something on that paper that you feel is going to help you. I really like that because I guess many people, writing sentences might not be the first method they enjoy for writing out their feelings. And I felt that was really powerful that you catered for other creative ways to express those thoughts in writing.
Thank you. Yeah, one of my pages in my journal was just filled with scribbles. That was how I was feeling that day. No words, just scribbles. So I was like, if people also feel that way, I've got to include it into the journal.
Most definitely. And I also love the pictures that you have included. So to our listeners, with understanding triggers, there's like pictures of how my body physically responds. Heart races, begin to sweat, lip quivers, start shaking, stomach drops or aches. And I really like that because I feel visual imagery can help us sometimes connect to a part of ourselves that we might not even realize was happening to us. Like, I know that after reading these pictures and seeing these faces, like I feel angry and frustrated, etc., it's actually helped me, I guess, understand, oh, what do I actually do when I get triggered? My heart does race and begin to sweat and lip quiver. And I feel like these type of images help us begin to reflect on how our coping mechanisms are, even if they're not the best. So did you find
Mm-hmm.
that visual imagery really helped with you as well?
Yes, yes. So whenever, even throughout school, always taking notes, it wasn't just words on my book. I always used to have to do like drawings or little doodles because I just think it just makes a connection a lot deeper in my brain. Like seeing something, I'm like, oh, I can actually imagine that, and then it creates that connection more.
Most definitely. And I also, we can skip this question if you want, but I also read your preface where you brought up that you had binge eating disorder. And as someone who was a survivor of that myself, I completely understand this need to cope in a way that doesn't involve expressing our feelings or our vulnerable moments in front of people we don't feel safe with. And do you feel that your journaling has helped you find healthier coping mechanisms in a way that aren't self-destructive?
Oh, yes, that is one of the biggest things I found through my journaling experience. Just finding healthier ways to cope with how I was feeling and just make myself feel better expressing instead of suppressing.
Yes, and that is so important. And as someone who's a journaler myself, I honestly, to my listeners, like I really encourage anyone to journal, even for like 2 minutes a day, because it's amazing how much lighter you feel and how emotionally motivating it is. I just find that after journaling, I feel more loving towards myself. So I do think that there is something extremely nurturing about journaling, whatever the way you like. Do you find that you get extremely nurtured within yourself after you journal?
Yes, I always walk away with like a smile on my face or just
Mm.
feelings of gratitude that I actually can express things that I'm proud of myself for or things that I want to work on. Like it's our journey is all about growing and healing, and we're never healed, but it's just always working towards it.
Yeah, most definitely. I completely understand. So, moving forward on your website, you talk about mistakes being overrated as what this theme is. What is one mistake you're actually glad you made?
Like the mistake that I am happy I made when I was growing up is being known as like the pushover or the people pleaser because I realized from a younger age that that isn't actually how I wanted to live. So it made me able to set healthy boundaries for growing up. And it also made me figure out what I loved besides what my friends loved and who I was outside of the obligations that people put on me. And it also definitely made me become stronger because I knew that saying no didn't mean that my friends wouldn't like me. It means my friends will probably respect me because I have more time to put in for myself and the things and the people that matter the most to me than just be there 50% showing up for everyone and at any time.
I completely agree. As someone who also has a fauna response and is a natural people pleaser, which I'm working on, that is also a mistake that I understand the benefits of it too, in a way, because it does allow you to prioritize your own burnout and ensure that you are actually able to provide people with the care that you think they deserve. Like, I don't know about you, but I think that's one of the reasons why I work on my fauna response too, because it's like I can't keep constantly giving my 10% to everyone when I feel like I would be better if I gave like 100% to a few people without burning myself out. For me, it's about that emotional connection with your loved ones. Do you reckon you can relate to that?
Yes, yeah. Yes, I'd rather have a deep conversation with the people that I really care about than just shallow conversations with multiple people a day.
Most definitely. And that's how we heal, right? As creative people, like I'm more verbal and expressiveness, but I feel like with writing or drawing or that as well, I've noticed that with just us more creative people, it's so important that we seek out those emotional connections and have people who truly understand our mindset, because I feel like a common thread between all of us is we kind of feel misunderstood or isolated a lot growing up. Can you relate
Yeah.
to that?
Yes, always felt like I didn't really fit in, or there was just something like I had friends, but we were just on different wavelengths at some point. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I always kind of felt that I was like on the outside looking in, which is also
Mhm.
why I love journaling as well and why I loved your journal, because you really prioritized taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. And also, you prioritize having gratitude and seeing the benefits of those mistakes or those hard times, which I feel is very important because as trauma survivors, we have such a tendency to stew on our pain, because how can we not? That I think it's a lot more difficult to see any type of positive or any type of good moment in what we've been through in our lives. And I feel like that's also really important to have that gratitude so we can keep going and maintain some sort of happiness or joy in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Gratitude became a daily ritual for the end of my days, and I just needed to add it in there because the benefits are honestly amazing.
I completely agree. So, for beginners with your routine, how often do you journal? And how long do your sessions usually last?
It changes every single time. I never push myself. I don't make any expectation for myself. Like, I don't go in there thinking I'm going to do it for 15 minutes because I don't want it to be a chore. I want it to feel like something I want to do because I know it's helping me. So I don't um, make a limit of how many pages I need to do or how long. But for my gratitude, I do that every single night. And even it could just be two things, or it could be the whole page. And the thing that I really try and do when I journal my gratitude is not, I'm so happy this is in my life. It's more, I'm so happy this is life. So it's, yes, so it's more, I'm happy for the beautiful sky, not I'm happy that my friend said this. Because then it's like the bigger picture. And it's just like through all the ups and downs in my life, there's also these good things that are external that I can
Most
still look out for. Yeah.
I completely understand and resonate. Even the small things, as you mentioned, like the sky being, cloudy. I'm very grateful that that I have gratitude that with it being cold right now, I can wear a woolly knitted jumper because I just love wearing knitted jumpers. And you're right, those small traits of gratitude, I feel are really great baby steps to making us feel more positive about our living situation despite what we've been through. And it's very easy to start to like also moving on to our next question. You write about turning pain into something useful for someone who feels stuck in their hurt or feel like they can't overcome that pain. What's one step you can recommend?
My first thing that I always say to anyone that needs some help is acknowledge it. You need to acknowledge the pain and the hurt and whatever you're feeling and become honest with yourself. You really, really need to remove all the judgments you have about any feelings, emotions. At the end of the day, they're all the same. Like there's no bad emotion and there's no good emotion. We just feel. So I definitely think that we need to name what we are feeling inside and just allow yourself to feel it. And this can sometimes change the way that you're feeling about it in a different way because you're allowing yourself to feel it. So it can also shift in a way. Because I felt when I was feeling like really betrayed and I allowed myself to feel it, I could feel it with more compassion because I could understand why I was feeling that instead of just feeling sorry for myself in a way. But yeah, definitely feeling stuck, it is it's really hard to hear than to do. And I was in the, literally I was in that boat. So I tried to, as I said briefly before, put my hurt in the middle of a page, kind of like a mind map or a brainstorm. And then one side, just write everything like what I'm dealing with, when I'm dealing with it the most, like who I'm with, if it like surfaces and stuff. And then on the other page, or other side of the page, try and find solutions in a way or things that you think relate to those points you've put through the pain to try and help yourself soothe or calm or just regulate yourself. So, for example, one thing that I was really struggling with was becoming honest and vulnerable with myself because I couldn't do that with other people. I knew that I needed to try and do it with myself first. So I wrote everything, figured it all out, and then I said, how can I do this? How can I become vulnerable? And I began writing poems and also going on like morning walks, but not listening to podcasts on my morning walks. I allowed myself to speak and listen, and I just found it very healing.
I love hearing that. And it sounds so relatable and so realistic too. I just love that everything you've mentioned is just very achievable, it's very economic, and it's also just something that you can employ on a daily basis that doesn't take a whole lot of mental and cognitive effort.
Yeah, that's because trauma is already draining enough. Like we're going through our journey, we're trying to find ourselves, we're trying to understand ourselves. Like big changes are sometimes like too big for us and it will just muddle up our routine and stuff. So just adding tiny little baby steps honestly create big solutions and just big changes in our life.
I completely agree and understand. So, two more questions. Moving back to your journal self impact, there are some really powerful prompts in there, as we have discussed. If someone's never journaled before, where do you think that they should start?
Definitely set no expectations for yourself. Like, don't go in there thinking, I need to do it for 5 minutes. Because the main thing about journaling is you want to, at the end of your day or during your day or in the morning, you feel, I actually want to journal, not, oh, I have to journal. Like, it's something that helps you understand yourself, like a conversation with your best friend. Like you get excited to do it. So definitely just show up for yourself and remove all judgments. Because if you have this belief or judgment, you're going to hold back a little bit. And the most important thing in journaling is just to let out whatever you want, however you want, and whenever you want. Just let it flow out of you.
Oh, I love that. I feel that's a really beautiful emotional way to express that free flowing, what do they call it? That inner subconscious technique as well, I feel is so
Mm-hmm.
important, which is also, again, reversing back to our previous point of it doesn't have to be like grammatically correct or even incoherent to anyone else. It's just solely for you and your own mind and your own personal bubble.
Exactly. And sometimes our minds run faster than our hand can. So even if you're thinking it in your brain and expressing it, your writing might be just be lines because you can't actually write that fast. Like sometimes my writing is literally I can't even read it back, but at least I feel better because I've still expressed it rather than just keeping it all in.
Most definitely. I feel I resonate with that, and I feel like a lot of our listeners will too. I guess final question to end this podcast on a positive note. Do you have any words of wisdom or advice for our listeners who may be like who may have gone through some trauma and they're not feeling the best about themselves?
I definitely I was once in this position, but healing is possible. Like no matter where you are, who you've been, you can become the person that you want to. It all starts with self belief. You need to believe in yourself, and once you have that belief, you you can be whoever you want.
I love that. And what a beautiful way to end this episode. So, we will include Mal's self impact journal and their website in the bio. And again, Mal, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for being a guest speaker on this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You're making a massive impact on people's lives.
Thank you.